Hi everyone, welcome to Daily Passenger Responsible Travel Podcast. This seems to be the day when we have stopped counting the number of days passed since we are sitting at home. But for health and safety reasons, we are staying here and recording this podcast over a phone call. The first few episodes are going to come out this way. So you will be expecting some loss of quality, but be patient. This too shall pass, and eventually the quality of the podcast episodes will become better. Today we are with Julie, who is the founder of Curtain Call Adventures. It is an ethical travel company that promotes sustainable tourism and ethical businesses in Northeast India. We met during a festival in Meghalaya. Actually not met, but just saw each other because I am socially awkward. But since then I was really interested in learning more about her work. Those who have followed my journey would know that I have spent a long time traveling around Northeast India and I absolutely love that region. For me, it is important to understand how the travel industry and small businesses are managing themselves during this phase. Before we begin this interview, don't forget to subscribe this platform on whatever channel you are listening. Hi Julie, how are you?
Hi Anshul, thank you for inviting me to talk at Daily Passenger.
Julie, please tell us about something about yourself and your professional background before you came up with your venture.
Okay, I'm Assamese and I had that perfect childhood, which you read about in storybooks for children.
Yeah.
Because I grew up I grew up in a place, I was born in a place called Dipol.
Yeah.
Which is the oldest refinery outside of America.
Yeah.
It still exists. And, I had that childhood where we were going fishing in the streams every day, picnics, camping. And my father was a, wildlife enthusiast, so he spent a lot of time in the safari. So that was my childhood. That was my background. Okay. And I also had, because of that, I had a very colonial influence because of the tea gardens. And that was the heydays of the tea garden and the oil business in Assam. And so there were a lot of tea parties and lots of, there were a lot of sports and things like that happened at that point. And on the other hand, I was influenced by my grandmother, who was she wasn't timid, far from it, but she had a very strong, her traditional background. And she insisted on telling us stories. She insisted on, she used to weave at home. Her generation, a woman, they all wove at home using a backstrap loom. And I used to help her. And that's how I picked up weaving. But I didn't think much of it till I went to Bombay and I joined Sapphire Polytechnic. And then I realized I could actually do something called textile design. Yeah? I'm talking about 30 years ago. And then I did textile design. I specialized in weaving. And I started working in the fashion textile space. Yeah? And my so I've worked as a teacher, I've worked in social work in that sector, I've even been an entrepreneur in that sector. Yeah? I've done the Lakme Fashion Week, I had a store in Cunningham Road in Bangalore, and we did exports, and it was a fun, foray into textile. And, so that's my professional background. And now, for weaving, I do keep in touch. I do textile art pieces, fiber art pieces for interior designers, and sometimes the whole workshop. But mainly to get people to appreciate what handwork is, not so much as to create a masterpiece, but it's an appreciation class, it's an adult weaving appreciation class. Okay.
That's
so that's my professional background. And then I started Curtain Call Adventures in July 2017 as a formal venture. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how that came about is, ever since I was in college in Bombay, I've always had people wanting to travel to the north.
Yes.
A lot of friends have traveled with me. Yes. And a lot of friends, parents, cousins, relatives, keep asking for tips, on traveling in this region. And then what happened is I had taken a sabbatical from my work because I was also, I didn't want to. I had reached a point in my textile business where I had to take certain calls. Do I grow big? Do I, start doing more mill work? By then the change had happened. India in textile was losing out to China in textile, right? So I had to decide which way I was going to go. So I decided to take a sabbatical, and my children were very small at that time. They must have been 3, yeah, they were about 3 and 4 at that point. And I decided to travel in the Northeast, which I do anyway every winter. I spend about a month. Winter is the best time to be in the Northeast, and I spend about a month, with my children or myself traveling. That's always been the habit with me for years. Yeah, though I go back. I have family there. I go back quite often. Lots of friends. So I was traveling and I was trying to track down some of the weavers of this tribe called Mishing.
Yes, yes,
They're
yes.
based in, yeah. You must have seen them because you've done a lot of it now.
Yeah. In Majuli,
Yeah,
they are
Madhuri.
present.
They are. But there are other places, and they're also known as the river tribe. So, there's a lot of, and the tribes all intermingle at some point. If you dig deep, I was saying that we are only separated from each other by 3 people or 7 people.
Yes, yes.
The same thing with the tribes there. There's a lot of intermingling that's happening. So interesting to see how design, from a design point of view, it's interesting to see how that change happened. The colors, why some tribes have avoided using a particular color, why some tribes only use a diamond pattern. It's a design. So I was trying to do that. I was actually going to do a document on that. But when I was doing that, and I started going in more interiors, which I hadn't done for ages, to certain areas I hadn't gone back, maybe I hadn't gone back for 15 years, some areas I hadn't gone back for 20 years. And it was a big eye-opener, that trip. My children were with me. But I realized that how much that way of life that I'd taken for granted had changed. And of course they wanted to change too, right? We do so many things in the modern world that's comfortable for us. They also want the convenience of modern times, right? So that's when I realized that their way of world was changing. It was changing very rapidly, right? So that's when, and around that time, a friend's mom-in-law was trying to organize, her kitty party from Bombay. They were all in their 50s at that point, to travel to the Northeast. Just a very generic trip. Shillong, Kaziranga, Guwahati, nothing big, right? But they wanted tips. What did we get to eat? Is there a doctor? Blah, blah, blah. So at that point, I decided, as a joke, I told them, you'll pay me, I'm going to do this trip for you. And I joked about it. My friend also joked about it. That evening, her mom-in-law called me and said, listen, we are paying you, you do this for us. So that's when it got me thinking, And I'm a great reader. I love reading. And when I'm traveling, I love carrying with me like a mixed bunch of many travel books, history, history of the region, travel. And I was reading, and that has always influenced my travel in a way, The biggest travel influence in my life is my father. Because he just, the old village jeep, I don't know if you remember those old village jeeps. They were very uncomfortable. He used to just throw us at the back, get in himself, and just take off. So, he was my first travel guide driver. And he did get the Wanderlust into me. Yeah. And then, of course, books by Freya Stark, there are 101 travelers who've written so beautifully, and that all influenced me. So, somehow all of this was playing in my mind. And that's how I started my company. I won't say company, it's a venture. Curtain Call Adventures.
So now that we are talking about tourism in Northeast, so what do you think that the challenges that tourism industry in Northeast India was facing before this issue of lockdown started, and how it has changed in the recent months?
Well, it's two-ended. Okay, let me address the first half of it first.
Okay, yes.
But the tourism industry in the Northeast, way before COVID happened, there were 3 things actually. One is a lack of infrastructure, fundamental infrastructure, good roads, electricity. In lots of parts, lots of interiors, these are not just tourism, it's just other ways of life also that affects, right?
Yeah.
Their basic medical, good medical, they have basic but good medical facilities. These infrastructures are not really in place.
Yes.
It's there but not in, Then tourism is relatively still in its, I don't know why, it's still in its infancy. Compared to like a Kerala or a Rajasthan,
Yeah.
where it's far more developed. Yeah, somehow it's never been in the tourist map. Maybe because of the insurgencies that happened, maybe because it's just too far out. Also let's be realistic. Somebody's flying to Delhi, then they have to fly another, another 4 hours, another 4 hour flight. Yeah, and then distances between. Now, of course, all the other states. At one time, Assam was the only place you could fly into. Now, of course, now that you can fly into the other states except for Arunachal, where they're building an airport. Sikkim, they built an airport. It's not working, but they're working on it. So things are going to change, right? But I think, and the third thing which actually jarred me when I started my travel company is how the awareness for the Northeast is very poor, even among domestic travelers. Like, see, you travel a lot, so you must be facing a few of these yourself, right? When people ask you about what's happening, what the region. People have heard, like, now Hornbill people know about. They know there's a Kaziranga which has a rhino. A lot of my guests get surprised when I tell them that actually the rhino can be seen in other sanctuaries also.
Yeah.
And that's not the only place you can see the rhino. Another myth is the living root bridges. There's more than one.
Yes.
So people are like, really? I'm like, yeah, there's more than one. It's not a monument. There are many. So these are myths around very popular things like the rhino, right? So a platform to create awareness.
Even tiger, like no one knows that tigers are found in Northeast India.
Yeah. Asiatic elephants, there are a lot of elephants. It's the highest amount of Asiatic elephants that you can find.
Yeah.
So it's that thing, it's things like that about the ways of the tribe, and each tribe is different. Yeah. If you look at Nagaland. So I think coming down to, I would say, lack of infrastructure, underdevelopment of the region, tourism as well, and awareness of the region to promote it. So these three things were always a bit of were an issue before COVID happened. Now the pandemic has added to it because the Northeast in December when the tourism season started. The NRC issue happened.
Yes.
And that affected, we had all shut down, refund, all that happened. Yeah? The whole region got affected. So then, in Jan, it started picking up. In Jan, it picked up, Feb, we did quite, we had people coming in. And March, March we didn't, I didn't personally have any, early March we had a trip. Yeah? We had one family who went from Assam to Rajasthan and got stuck there because of COVID and the pandemic. So what happened is, it was like a backlash. Then again in March everybody was shut down. So that was a bit of a backlash, which kind of affected everybody, and the morale is a bit low now. Because even the government hasn't really stepped up to offer benefits or soft loans to have people out. And the most important thing, which everybody is asking, is when are we going to travel next?
Yeah.
And so you're asking that to yourself also.
Yes.
Yeah. So these are the things.
Okay. Okay, I want to know one thing. Since Curtain Call Adventures is a community-based initiative, if I like to call it so.
Okay.
So how do you involve local communities in your projects and how do they benefit from it?
Okay. So one thing I spend a lot of my time on the ground research, and my main research is the history. I already know the region, I might get little more details or whatever. My main research is to find the right people for right activities, right? Because there are lots of people who do things, but I don't want to be sending, this ad hoc system of going to a village and finding out, that I've tied up with somebody to send my guest to do a weaving workshop, and I find out that it actually asks his aunt to just show 2 saris. I don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
So I spend a lot of time on the ground seeing that all the resource people that we hire or use have that particular input, Yeah, and I really spend a lot of time trying to see, even little things like if somebody's making, like right now, somebody was stitching bags, right? So we've asked them, why don't you make masks? You know, so you can, when our guests come, you can give them the mask
Yes,
in the
definitely.
new thing. So you always find anybody food is a big thing for me.
Hmm.
I love food. I love going to markets. I love looking at new things. So that's given a lot of importance.
Hmm.
Where small communities, small markets, small artisans, big artisans. To me it's go direct, as local as you can get.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that is, I think, where the community involvement comes. And another thing very big is, of course, when it comes to wildlife, whether you're going bird watching, you're going dolphin spotting, or you're going into the safari, your sighting is as good as the naturalist or the trekker that goes with you. Without them, you don't really see much in the
Hmm.
forest. So that's another community thing that you do, that. We're encouraging the mission tribe women to take people fishing with them, because that's another interesting activity. Well, for my textile trips, we get a lot of, like a lot of people, in okay, I'll give Manipur as an example. They wear those basket skirts, right? The stick skirts. They're called
Yes, yes,
polkas.
yes.
The Manipuri dancers wear.
Yes, yes, yes,
So
yes.
a lot of those in the villages, there are people who make them and they actually rent them to brides. Yeah. So we get them to do a whole, how to wear the costume, how is it worn, how is it draped, what does it feel like, how is it stitched, show to guests. Yeah. So it's a small, that's how then they get involved and that becomes their economy. From that they can earn some money from. So little initiatives like that.
So now I'll also like to know how has your venture has particularly affected due to this shutdown phase, and what were your plans before this issue started?
Uh, Well, it's been like I said, in March, I had just finished it. I had taken a group, we're going on a cruise on the Sundarbans. And part of the group came back with me to Bangalore because they wanted to see Bangalore. And that's when this whole, the virus hit India. And so we were busy, we're trying to regroup. And that's the time before the 10th of March that we started cancelling our trips. Because we got that first thing was what happens if this gets to Northeast. We are not equipped to deal with this. So I had told my colleagues and my our local guys and things like that listen, we have to start cancelling our trips or putting them on hold. I didn't think that it was going to be this long, but we had to start. So we had collected payments till our May trips, right, as
Oh,
mentioned, and we were supposed to go for a trek to Zuko Valley
acha.
to see the lilies bloom. And till then we had collected payments. So we had to now cancel payments, and what we did as a policy is that we've given back as much as we can to clients. Small amounts we've kept it as on credit, so that whenever they travel with us, we can cover. That's mainly because we realized that our smaller partners who we had paid, to do organize these trips, they were not in a position to return the money. So we kind of, whatever we could give, we gave. And then, and we worked it out with our clients that we could, give some amount in credit. And then we canceled all our future trips. Yeah. We were planning, this was our first trip. I planned a textile tour to Ladakh.
Oh,
It was going to happen in July, August. So we had, that got on the shelf. We were going to start promoting it when we pulled it back. Because now it's also, it's very unpredictable. Nobody knows when it's going to happen. So it does affect us in that sense, where you have to pull everything back. My staff, I don't have, everybody's in half salary. Yeah, so we're functioning like that right now. We will probably have to think of what the next steps are in terms of income. But that's where we are right now.
a lot of responsible travel companies were popping up around India before this issue started.
Hmm.
So even right now, like a lot of people I know personally, they are trying to start something that gives back to the community and promotes responsible tourism. So, what would you suggest to the ventures similar to yours that have been affected during this time period, and how are you trying to restart your work in future?
Well, right now I think once panic is over, it's time to really come down to basics, right? You really need to. This is a time to relook at schedules, regroup, based, and really look at what are your strengths. Yeah. Now, responsible tourism is a big word.
Yes.
Yeah. What does it mean to you? To me, it means low impact on the communities and the environment where I'm conducting my tours. Yeah. And if I can, that is my main focus. Yeah. And if I can sustain those communities. Yeah. Without damaging the environment. That's my, that's the thing. And second strength for me is that I want the knowledge that I have, my passion for the Northeast, where I know, I want my guests to get that. And this is a great time to use social media, different forms, Zoom webinars, Insta Live, blogs,
Podcast.
to reach audience, podcasts like we're doing right now. Anshul, to reach the right audience. So sometime back Outlook, when they were looking for people to do writing, I put my hand, and I was like, okay, I'm going to write for you. Because this is the time you regroup. This is also the time to connect to other travel companies. It can be quite lonely and scary when you're out on your own.
Yes.
So time to be positive and look in the future means you need to regroup. You need to reach out to people who are thinking like you, whether it's buyer, seller, agent, at whatever level, and see how we can all work together. Because everyone's in the same boat right now.
Right.
So you have to look at the strength and be realistic, that, travel is not going to happen, probably not happen this year at all. What are we going to do? Look at things, cut down. But keep it alive, keep in touch with the audience. Because when people decide to travel next, it's all going to be based on trust.
Yeah.
They need to know that they can trust you, that you're going to look after them. Yeah. And it's also the other way around. It's not just client trust. It's the communities that you're going to walk through or going to go through, rather, that they have to trust you.
Yeah. And lastly, so what is your message to aspiring travelers who have been planning to visit Northeast India, and how they can do it in a more responsible way?
Traveling to Northeast India. This is a great time to, read up on it. Yeah. Follow us. Follow Curtain Call Adventures. Our blog pages are very good. There are lots of companies like mine, who are smaller immersive travel companies. We put up quite a lot of information. Read up on it. Get in touch. Because I think the best way to travel that region, it's because it's traveled through locals. And have a localized experience. It's not like going to Southeast Asia, which is, which has pretty much everything set up. You can land up there and choose. Okay, today I'm going to do a cooking class. Tomorrow I'm going to go snorkeling. The after I'm going to have to just, connect to all these things. Even here you need somebody to do that for you.
Right.
To navigate for you, rather.
Right. Especially when you want to venture into something unique and apart.
Different from. Absolutely. I mean, I'm not even talking about the standard tours, because that you can do, you can do by yourself. But when you want to go one step beyond, then you need that.
Like you want to understand Northeast in a very authentic way.
You want to understand it. You want to explore. You want to come back but say, hey, I got a chunk of that. What a memory, I got a chunk. It's that feeling. And for that, you need to interact with locals. And I would say do that. That's a great thing to do. Responsible, I think it's also time that, not just travel companies, but even other companies start, even guests start looking at what it means to be a responsible traveler.
Sure. Yes.
One thing is to be aware of the region you're going to. That really helps.
Thank you, Julie, for being with us and sharing your insights with our audience. I hope we record another episode with you in near future again.
Yes, I hope so, Anshu.
Yeah, and
Thank you so much.
next
And
time,
also-
next time I like to record. I hope that I get to record an interview face to face.
Yes, I hope so too.
Yeah.
Once again, I would like to remind our listeners that don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on whatever platform you are listening at. You can get in touch with Julie at Curtain Call Adventures on Instagram.